Have you ever heard of the Vanishing Hitchhiker? This is no ordinary tale. It is a spectral myth that has transcended cultures, time, and geography. A parable whispered in hushed tones around crackling campfires, in dim-lit rooms, or on eerie midnight drives. Drawing its roots from ancient folklore and urban legends, this ghostly story has a chilling and uncanny ability to grip your heart and mind. Marked by a sense of unease and apprehension, it often leaves listeners with an air of anticipation, curiosity, and even fear. This spine-tingling tale, The Vanishing Hitchhiker, has various renditions and interpretations, each with its unique twists, adding rich layers to the already intriguing narrative. For some, it is a story of a distressed woman in white, thumb out in the pouring rain, pleading for a ride home. For others, it is a tale of a quiet man in outdated clothes, appearing out of nowhere on a lonely road, and then disappearing just as suddenly. The tale has been told and retold, passed down from generation to generation, each adding its own flair and flavor to the spectral account. It thrives on the primal fear of the unknown, the inexplicable, the supernatural. It takes us on a journey into the deepest recesses of our minds, churning our imagination, fueling our fears, and testing our bravery. Yet, despite its spectral allure and chilling impact, The Vanishing Hitchhiker's tale is more than just a scary story. It is a testament to the powerful allure of storytelling, its ability to captivate listeners, and its unique capacity to bridge the gaps between reality and the supernatural. It is an exploration of human fear and curiosity, our fascination with the unexplained, and our insatiable hunger for intriguing narratives. While we often find ourselves afraid of the dark and the unknown figures it might hide, this tale invites us to step into the shadows, to embark on an unsettling journey, to face our deepest fears, and to question the inexplicable. It is a call to embrace the thrill of the unknown, to accept the challenge of the unexplained, and to dare to venture beyond the boundaries of our understanding. So the next time you find yourself on a lonely road at night, you might just catch a glimpse of a figure in the distance, a lone figure asking for a ride. You might feel your heart pounding, the hairs on your neck standing up, and a chill running down your spine. And suddenly, you will find yourself in the midst of the Vanishing Hitchhiker's tale. It's a tale that sends shivers down the spine, a story that lingers long after it's told. Our narrative unfolds in a hushed town, comfortably nestled on the edge of an imposing, dense forest, a place where the whispers of the trees echoed with 1,000 tales. Here, a man named Michael, a humble and kind-hearted soul, found his life taking an unexpected turn, getting entwined with an intriguing and chilling legend that had been circulating for years, the legend of the Vanishing Hitchhiker. Michael was a simple man with an ordinary life. He was a local craftsman, known well for his skill in carving intricate designs into tree barks, a talent he had inherited from The forest was not just his work field, but also his sanctuary, his refuge from the hustle and bustle of town life. He loved the calmness it offered, the rustling of leaves that whispered secret tales into his ears, tales he believed to be mere figments of his imagination until that fateful, stormy evening. It all began as a day like any other, with the sun shimmering brightly overhead. But as the evening drew closer, the sky morphed into a foreboding shade of gray. A storm was approaching, its ominous presence casting an eerie shadow over the quaint town. Rain began cascading down like a waterfall, transforming the peaceful forest into a tumultuous sea and branches. The thunder roared in the distance, and the wind howled, as if warning everyone of the approaching storm. Michael, who had been working in the forest, decided it was time to pack up and journey home. As he drove down the desolate road, each raindrop striking his car seemed to echo the town's hushed whispers about the vanishing hitchhiker. The road was slick and shiny under the fierce downpour, reflecting the sparse streetlights that faintly illuminated Michael's path. He squinted through the rain-washed windshield, maneuvering the car carefully around the puddles that had started to form. Then he saw her, a lone figure standing by the roadside, drenched and shivering. A young woman, her clothes sticking to her like a second skin, her hair plastered to her face, water dripping from the ends. Concerned, Michael pulled over, offering her a ride home. She gratefully accepted, climbing into the passenger seat, while casting a relieved smile his way. There was a moment of silence before she softly introduced herself, her voice barely audible over the pattering rain. Her name was Sarah. Michael, being a good Samaritan, offered Sarah a ride to her home. That night, the moon had cloaked itself behind veils of dark clouds, and the dim-lit streets echoed a strange solitude, reciprocating the eerie silence within the confines of Michael's car. Sarah, a young woman with eyes as bright as a luminous star, sat quietly in his car, her gaze fixed upon the shadowy world outside. The journey seemed to unfold as a procession of monochrome images, the flickering streetlights, and the glistening raindrops falling on the windshields, creating an ethereal symphony of sights and sounds. Michael stole glances at her from time to time, his curiosity piqued. Sarah was an enigma, her hushed demeanor a sharp contrast to her usual lively self. She had a distant look in her eyes, a kind of longing that resonated with the darkened skies outside. He was drawn to her quietude, her mysticism, her world within a world. As he drove through the labyrinth of unknown streets, he felt a sense of trepidation creeping upon him. He was in the heart of unfamiliar territory, the GPS his only guide. He could feel the tension building, an unsaid conversation hanging in the air between them. His heart pounded loudly, each beat echoing the ticking of the clock. Finally, the GPS announced, "You have reached your destination." His eyes darted towards her seat, expecting to see her radiant smile. But what greeted him was an empty space. Sarah was nowhere to be found. His heart sank, confusion clouding his mind. A quick scan of the car confirmed his worst fears. She had disappeared, leaving no trace behind. The reality of the situation hit him hard. He was alone in his car, in a strange part of town, with a mystery that beggared belief. He took a deep breath, trying to collect his thoughts. He looked around, hoping for some sign of her presence, but all he found was the cold indifference of the night. Sarah had vanished, as if swallowed by the darkness itself. Haunted by the inexplicable incident, Michael found himself drawn back to Sarah's supposed home. He was enveloped by a peculiar fascination, a compelling pull that seemed to emanate from the core of his being. This was a feeling he had never experienced before, and yet it was so powerfully consuming that he didn't have the will to resist it. His footsteps carried him through the familiar streets, each corner and alley saturated with memories of Sarah. As he approached the house, a sense of foreboding washed over him. The sight of it was rather intriguing, a deserted standing tall in the midst of a ghost town. The house had an eerie demeanor, almost as if it was a living entity, concealing secrets deep within its hollow walls. Standing in front of it, he swallowed hard. His heart pounded like a war drum in his chest, a steady rhythm that seemed to echo the emptiness of the house. Despite the fear gnawing at the edges of his mind, Michael felt an inexplicable urge to explore further. He found himself stepping over the threshold into the house. He was met with the chilling cold. The house was deserted, an eerie shell of a building. It was as if it had been locked away in a timeless void, untouched by the world outside. Every creak of the wooden floor, every whisper of the wind through the broken windows, amplified in the silence. Yet, his intrigue didn't wane. Instead, it bloomed, fanning like a wildfire in his veins. His desire to understand the strange occurrences only grew stronger. He was driven by an insatiable curiosity to uncover similar tales. Michael began delving into the rich tapestry of local folklore and myths. He spent countless hours researching and talking with the town's oldest residents, piecing together anecdotal stories and historical records. He was shocked to uncover a series of tales that stretched back over a century. Each story echoed the same chilling theme, a mysterious hitchhiker who disappeared without a trace. The tales were eerily similar to his encounter with Sarah, creating a pattern that was impossible to ignore. Each one was a chilling echo of the last, a never-ending cycle of mystery and intrigue. His heart sank as he realized the grim truth. He was now a part of this century-old mystery, entwined in a web of supernatural occurrences. The realization was as chilling as the stories themselves. A mysterious hitchhiker who disappeared without a trace. Then, one fateful night, history repeated itself. This time, it was Lisa who shared Sarah's fate. Again, the destination was that same chilling, abandoned house. Michael was ensnared in a terrifying cycle, one he couldn't seem to break free from. Word of Michael's obsession rippled through the town, painting him as a man ensnared by the sinister legend. Then came Emily, another hitchhiker who led him to the same forsaken house. In that moment, Michael understood the horrifying truth. He was under the curse of the vanishing hitchhiker. Years later, amidst the overgrown underbrush, Michael's abandoned car was discovered. With it, the legend of the vanishing hitchhiker surged anew, a chilling testament to the power of folklore and the fear of the unknown. The story, like the hitchhikers, had vanished only to reappear, forever reminding us of the unexplained mysteries that lurk in the shadows.